Dear students, in this module we will try to get a clear understanding about the history of family welfare programs in India. Specifically, in this module we will be talking about the genesis of the family welfare programs in India, and then the kind of initiatives taken to strengthen the family welfare program in the successive 5-year plans. Let us talk about the way the family welfare or family planning program was initiated in India. Across the world, India was the first country to adopt an official population policy, and it happened to be the first country to have launched an official family planning program way back in 1952. Since then, planned efforts have been made towards population stabilization under various names. The efforts initially were organized under the National Family Planning Program. The focus of the programs initiated by Government of India was recognized in the area of family welfare, and it was considered as an area of priority. It was implemented as 100% centrally sponsored program. During the initial years, the efforts and the focus was on health related rationale of the family planning program rather than that of demographic rationale. Family planning as a strategy for population stabilization received greater attention at policy level. In view of the evidence provided by 1971 census that indicated alarming population growth during the decade 1961 and 1971, so as to operationalize the family planning based strategy for population stabilization, specific demographic goals were also set in terms of the desired birth rate. Specifically, with regard to the goals relating to family planning, the goals set for birth rate were translated into number of new acceptors of different methods of family planning to be recruited year after year using demographic models. The rationale behind assigning specific targets was primarily to communicate some sense of urgency towards reduction of birth rate and thereby achieving reduced population growth. The first 5-year plan implemented during 1952 and 57 recognized that increase in population and pressure exerted on the limited resources in the country had brought forward the urgency to address the issues related to family planning and population control. The first 5-year plan also argued that application of medical knowledge and social care contributed in reducing the death rates, while the birth rates remained fairly constant. This situation led to rapid increase in the population growth. The first 5-year plan also acknowledged that reducing birth rate might occur as a result of improvement in standard of living of the people, but such kind of improvements were not likely to materialize if there was concurrent increase of the population throughout the country. The plan also emphasized that population control could be achieved only through reduction in birth rate to the extent that is required to have stabilization of the population. The plan advocated that this could be secured only through realization of the need for family limitation on a wider scale by the people at large. The plan, however, insisted that the main appeal for family planning was based on consideration of health and welfare of the family. The family limitation or spacing of children was felt necessary and desirable so as to secure better health for the mother and better care and upbringing of the children. The approach adopted under the first 5-year plan as well as second 5-year plan was mainly clinical approach, as part of which facilities for providing services of family planning were created across the country. On the basis of the 1961 census data and the evidence provided by the census results, clinical approach was adopted. In the first two plans was replaced by extension and education approach. The extension and education approach envisaged expansion of services and facilities together with spreading message about small family norm. In the second 5-year plan from 1957 to 1961, there was a proposal for family limitation and population control as part of the family planning initiatives. The plan suggested that the program should make advice on family planning. In fact, this should be an integral part of the government hospitals and public health facilities. And the plan also called for establishment of clinics, one for 5,000 population in all major cities and towns. In case of small towns and rural areas, the second 5-year plan proposed to establish clinics in association with primary health units. The plan also proposed training in family planning to all the medical and nursing students, and also emphasized about availability of the family planning services in all hospitals and in dispensaries in the due course. The third 5-year plan from 1961 to 66 also emphasized that greatest stress should be placed on family planning program, and that the objective of stabilization of population growth over a reasonable period of time must be the center of the plan development for the country. During the third and fourth 5-year plan, emphasis was on expansion and availability of family planning services with specific focus on sterilization services within the public health care delivery system. The fourth 5-year plan signaled domination of demographic rationale of family planning over the health rationale, which was the scenario till then. The third 5-year plan for the first time also set targets in terms of sterilization and IUCD insertions, and also talked about widening the acceptance of oral and injectable contraceptives as well, so that reduction in birth rate can be achieved. The target was reduction to about 32 per thousand population by 1973-74 from the level of 39 per thousand population that prevailed at the initiation of the plan period. The third 5-year plan also targeted increase in number of users of conventional contraceptives from 3.24 million persons during 69-70 and 10 million persons by 73-74. The ultimate objective of the third 5-year plan was to protect 2.8 million couples and avert 18 million births through family planning methods by 1973-74. So as to give a push to the planned family planning efforts, Department of Family Planning was created within the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare at the national level. Perhaps this was beginning of target approach that dominated the planning and implementation of family planning efforts in India for the next 3.5 decades. During the at the end of the fourth 5-year plan, about 16.5 million couples were protected. During the fifth 5-year plan, the priority continued to be for family planning, and during 74-79 the country experienced some political turbulence, and during that time, specifically during 75-77, major emphasis and push were given to family planning, especially the sterilization program. This kind of push resulted in coercion and force in implementation of the family planning program. Subsequently, there was a change in the government, and the new government changed the name of the department from family planning to Department of Family Welfare. The name of National Family Planning Program was also changed as National Family Welfare Program. So, this was a shift from family planning to family welfare. The fifth 5-year plan had an objective to bring down birth rates to 30 per thousand by the end of 78-79, and the plan also talked about integration of family planning services with that of health, maternal and child health and nutrition, so that the program is accepted by the couples. During 77, 75, 76 and 76, 77, phenomenal increase in performance of sterilization was recorded. The sixth 5-year plan implemented during 80-85 also attempted to bring planned family efforts at center stage of development agenda of the country, and the plan aimed at long term demographic goal of reducing the net reproduction rate NRR to 1 by 1996 for the country as a whole, and by 2001 in all states from NRR of 1.67 at the initial period of the plan duration. As a result, the focus of the Department of Family Welfare was no longer confined to family planning alone. Health related issues such as reduction in infant, child and maternal mortality started getting priority over family planning within the department. This is a major shift in the approach of the Government of India. And then the family welfare program was continued on a purely voluntary basis with greater emphasis on promotion of spacing methods, securing maximum community participation and promoting maternal and child health care. In the year 1985, universal immunization program was launched. The idea was to provide universal coverage of infants and pregnant women with immunization against identified vaccine preventable diseases, and it was extended to cover all the districts of the country. During the 7th 5-year plan, couple production rate of 42% was targeted for, and the target was also to bring down the birth rate to 29.1 per thousand population. There were also targets in terms of reduction in death rate, infant mortality rate and improvement in coverage of child immunization as well as antenatal care coverage. The 7th 5-year plan had an approach which was continued during 1992. For effective community participation, Mahila Swasthya Sangha at village level was constituted during 1991. During 92-93, the universal immunization program was strengthened and expanded as Child Survival and Safe Motherhood CSSM project. The project involved sustaining high immunization coverage level under the UIP, besides augmenting activities under ORT and for prophylaxis for control of blindness of children and control of acute respiratory infections were also initiated. Under the safe motherhood component, training was given to traditional birth attendants, aseptic delivery kits were provided, and first referral units were strengthened, so that high risk and obstetric emergencies can be taken care of. During the 8th 5-year plan, containing population growth was one of the 6 most important objectives, and the plan also aimed at reducing birth rate from 29.9 per thousand in 1990 to 26 per thousand by 1997. The plan also talked about need for a national population policy and suggested an intersectoral approach supported by political commitment and popular mass movement. During this plan period, the target based approach of the planned family planning was replaced by community needs assessment approach. Through this, increased attention was provided to child survival and safe motherhood with the launch of CSSM program. The government also realized that NGOs have a crucial role to play in this program, and efforts were made in this direction. During the 9th 5-year plan, efforts were completely subsumed in reproductive and child health program, and as a result of that, there was dilution of the family planning component in the overall program of reproductive and child health. The strategies adopted during the 9th plan period included assessing needs for reproductive and child health at PHC level, besides undertaking area specific micro planning and providing need based, demand driven, high quality integrated reproductive and child health care, so that infant and maternal morbidity as well as mortality can be reduced. During the 10th 5-year plan, integration of numerous vertical programs of family planning and maternal and child health got integrated, so as to ensure healthcare services for women as well as children. There is also shift from demographic targets to enabling couples to achieve their reproductive goals and meeting all unmet needs of contraception, so that unwanted pregnancies can be reduced. The target regime of planned family planning efforts, this staged combat in terms of centrally defined targets to community needs assessment. The National Rural Health Mission was launched and Department of Family Welfare was merged with the Department of Health. During the 11th 5-year plan, there is reiteration of the goals and objectives of the National Rural Health Mission, and these include reduction in TFR to the replacement level. However, at the policy level, the focus shifted towards universal access to health care rather than universal access to family planning. The approach paper prepared for the 12th 5-year plan recognized that total fertility rate continues to be above the replacement level. The target was to achieve replacement level fertility by the end of the 11th 5-year plan period, and another concern was expressed in terms of stagnation of the couple production rate. The paper also highlighted the need for population stabilization, as the rates of population growth in a democratic setup could potentially generate regional conflicts. The plan also recommended dedicated funding for family planning services, particularly in the high fertility states, together with reproductive and child health care services under the NRHM. The plan approach paper recommended convergence of the programs so as to address the issues relating to high fertility. These include child mortality, women's empowerment, early age of marriage, etc. However, the approach paper was not so comprehensive in terms of its approach towards population stabilization. So, let us summarize the learnings from this module so far. India was the first country to have an official national level family planning program, and it goes back to 1952, and over the successive 5-year plan periods, the government of India initiated several measures towards achieving population stabilization, reduction in population growth. There has been considerable shift in the approach from family planning to family welfare, and then later on the plan documents talked about convergence of the services, ensuring maternal and child health care services besides the family planning services so as to take care of the needs of mothers and children. The universal immunization program was another important step in this direction so as to address the issues relating to maternal and child mortality as well as morbidity. The latest initiative, namely the National Rural Health Mission, was also talking about integration of the services for health and family planning. As part of NRHM, several initiatives were taken to promote maternal and child health, to increase coverage under antenatal care, child immunization, institutional delivery, and postnatal care and child care in particular. These initiatives are in line with the focus of the government to ensure healthy and well-being of mothers as well as children. The efforts are found to be giving the expected results, at least in some of the states, though not all the states of India. The need of the hour is to continue the programs with much more focus on the districts that are having high fertility, so that the fertility rates in those districts can be brought down with effective family planning programs, coupled with strong information, education and communication campaigns. Thank you. In this module, we also briefly discussed about the national population policy. The national population policy gives emphasis to population stabilization and reduction of population growth across the country. The latest national population policy was brought out in the year of 2000, and the national population policy gives emphasis to development together with population stabilization. The national population policy also gives emphasis to early childbearing, thereby addressing the issues relating to early age at marriage in case of girls. As all of us know, the government of India stipulates that the age at marriage should be at least 18 years in case of girls and 21 years in case of boys. And then the plan document as well as the national population policy talks about adhering to this so that the child marriages can be prevented, the marriage can be delayed. Then once you delay the marriage, later on subsequent efforts are required to have spacing between the children. The spacing should be between the marriage and the first birth, and subsequently between the first birth and second birth, and so on. So the methods offered as part of the national family planning program in India include two types of methods. Number one, the terminal methods, the sterilization, for males as well as females, which are terminal methods because the couples can use these methods to limit their family size forever. On the other hand, the couples also have the choice of choosing any of the spacing methods. These methods include methods for males as well as females. Let us talk about the male methods. The male methods include primarily the condom, which is a spacing method, besides the terminal male sterilization, which is known as vasectomy. On the other hand, the females have bigger choice. The terminal method in case of females is tubectomy, the female sterilization, and as part of the spacing methods, the females can choose oral contraceptive pills, IUDs, injectables, and other methods. Of late, the government of India has included female condom and injectables in the methods of the spacing methods. So, these kind of choice available for the couples gives wider choice for the couples, so that they can select the method they wish to adopt to limit their family size or to have spacing between the children. It is also important to note that throughout the history of family welfare program in India, the focus was on voluntary approach. The couples were given complete liberty to decide about the family size, to decide about the family planning methods or contraceptive methods they wish to adopt, and the couples were never forced in terms of family size limitation or the family planning methods to be adopted. So, this method, this kind of approach on a voluntary basis has given the results so far, and the hope is that concerted efforts in this direction would help the government in achieving the goals in terms of population stabilization and reduction in population growth. Thank you.